Click, call, or visit a Spectrum store today.
Even the mighty might not see it coming. It's prediabetes, and it captures 1 in 3 adults. But you can escape. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test to know where you stand and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Be your own hero on smartphones everywhere at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Spectrum News Plus. Local stories, connecting communities. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app and free with your Spectrum subscription.
I'm Sharon Tazwell. Here's your Spectrum News in 90. Markets plunging for a second day, marking the biggest back-to-back loss since 2020. The Dow dropped more than 2,200 points. China striking back, announcing it will impose reciprocal 34% tariffs on all imports from the U.S. The Federal Reserve issued a warning President Trump's tariffs could lead to higher inflation.
While uncertainty remains elevated, it is now becoming clear that tariff increases will be significantly larger than expected. And the same is likely to be true of the economic effects, which will include higher inflation and slower growth.
Heavy rain and flash flooding battered parts of the Midwest and South Friday. Kentucky's governor says a child was killed. The storms come as many communities are still reeling from severe tornadoes that destroyed neighborhoods and killed at least 7 people.
Tornado came through and just plowed about everything in its path.
Hoping it missed our house, but as soon as we drove up, we realized we have nothing left.
President Trump says he's signing an executive order to keep TikTok in the U.S. for 75 more days. The extension will give his administration more time to broker a deal to bring the social media platform under U.S. ownership. The Chinese-owned app previously faced a ban deadline of April 5th. And that is your Spectrum News in 90.
Welcome to The Big Deal. I'm Errol Lewis, national political anchor at Spectrum News. This program looks behind the headlines to focus on the biggest deal there is in America, the future of our country and its people. With a new administration in the White House and a new Congress, we're exploring the new people and policies and power that are shaping the nation. This week, the big deal was the start of a global trade war, sparked by President Donald Trump's new round of tariffs on more than 180 countries and territories. A tariff is a tax on goods that come from overseas, and the reality of our global economy is that nearly every American household buys and uses imported goods, from Mexican avocados to Korean-made washing machines to figs grown in the Middle East and footwear made in China. Trump's new policy sets a baseline tax of at least 10% on most nations, and it includes higher rates of up to 50% for some of America's top trading partners. That includes China, which is scheduled to be hit with a new 34% tariff on top of the 20% the Trump administration had imposed earlier this year. World leaders were shocked by the targeted tariffs. Here's some of the reaction.
La guerra comercial abierta por el presidente Trump es una pésima noticia para el mundo.
中方多次强调，贸易战、关税战没有赢家。
And they go against the basis of our two nations partnership.
The American administration should eventually change course.
Elle est infondée parce qu'on ne corrige pas des déséquilibres commerciaux en mettant des tarifs.
And we will fight for the best deal for Britain.
But I know that the strength of our long-term friendship with the United States will ultimately prevail.
Joining me now are 2 of the best political analysts in the business. Holly Gregory is an anchor for Spectrum Bay News 9 in Tampa, Florida. Jason Fechner is an anchor for Spectrum News 1 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And Jason, I want to play part of what President Trump said on Thursday as reaction poured in from around the globe.
Every country's called us. That's the beauty of what we do. We put ourselves in the driver's seat. If we would have asked some of these countries, almost most of these countries, to do us a favor, they would have said no. Now they'll do anything for us.
Okay, so Jason, in your opinion, what is the president trying to accomplish with all of this?
Errol, great to see you. The stated goal to all this, of course, is to try to bring more manufacturing back to the United States and kind of balance out this trade imbalance with these tariffs right now. But there's some mixed messaging from the White House because, as Trump has said that, you know, countries are calling and we're working through this process, there could be some negotiations. The White House has said, no, these tariffs are kind of set in stone right now. They are moving forward as planned. Republicans, though, in both the Senate and House have been out there saying, well, we'll see how long these last. We'll see what the president is doing. The negotiator-in-chief, of course. The big warning from Democrats and economists as well out there. A lot of countries are already saying that the U.S. is no longer dependable, kind of a Peter crying wolf scenario right now, and they're already looking to move their supply chains, get certain products from other countries because they don't know what the president's whim might be sometime down in the future.
Okay, and Holly, a new report cited by the Wall Street Journal estimates that these tariffs will translate into an average tax increase of about $2,100 per household. That's assuming they last at least a year. Sooner or later, I would think that consumers and taxpayers will probably pull out the torches and the pitchforks. But who are they going to blame for this higher cost of goods if that's what happens?
Yeah, Errol, President Trump has certainly acknowledged there could be some short-term pain here, although the administration insists that that's going to be offset by deregulation, tax cuts, also investment coming into the country, lower energy costs. So we'll have to see what really happens. But one thing I know for sure, to answer your question on who will be to blame, if inflation does indeed go up, Americans do not forgive administrations for inflation. Just look what happened to Joe Biden. They particularly will not be forgiving if the person they elected, Donald Trump, large part to control inflation and to stop this economic pain, if they end up having it get worse. I think the answer would be a political price would be paid, and that would be on Republicans and Donald Trump.
And Jason, this is not the first time that Donald Trump has hiked tariffs. During the first Trump administration, tariffs were raised on China, and it led to thousands of industry requests for exemptions, along with later findings that some of those exemptions may have been granted based more on political connections than economic need. Are we in for another round of businesses running to the White House looking for favors?
That's probably the case, Errol. A report from Public Citizen covering those 2018 tariffs found that 1 in 5 CEOs who had supported Trump were granted an exemption. 1 in 10 CEOs who had not, they got an exemption as well. So your odds are better, of course, if you had supported Donald Trump in the past. We'll see how it plays out this time around. And then you've got like farmers here in Wisconsin, across the country. They didn't get an exemption. They were hurt roughly $27 billion in 2018 by those tariffs, then offset by the USDA with $23 billion coming in back to support them. The new Department of Ag Secretary Brooke Rollins said that the USDA doesn't have that type of money around this time. So interesting to see how this all plays out, both for businesses, farmers, and everyone else in the country right now.
Okay, now Holly, let's talk about the effects on the ground. There's a 25% tariff on all imported cars starting in May, and analysts say that that's going to raise new car prices by thousands of dollars. One more reason maybe you shouldn't buy a new car, but I want to play a soundbite from a local car dealership in Texas.
People, they don't want to spend more money on payments, so increasing the 25% of tariff will be increasing of the total payment every month. So I think it's going to be hard for customers getting to a low payment now.
So Holly, I mean, to go back to what you said, the president says that the pain of higher payments right now will ultimately boost investment and jobs in the United States, but it's going to take some time to build, new factories and new supply chains.
And that is the entire long game right there, Errol. And by the way, Donald Trump has been consistent on this message for nearly 4 decades, going all the way back to NAFTA, that if we continue to outsource our companies, as we have our manufacturing, that is going to be and has been devastating. We've lost millions of American jobs. And by the way, it wasn't that long ago that Democrats were the ones preaching this message, including Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, saying that these trade imbalances are terrible for the American worker. And We have to do something about it before, we pass the point of no return. And so I think if you ask 5 economists, you might get 5 different opinions of what will happen long term with all of this. But there is one just intellectually honest question I think we all have to ask ourselves, is that if tariffs are so inflationary, if they're so bad for countries, if they're so bad for consumers, why have all of our trade partners had tariffs on us for the last 3 decades? There is a protectionism benefit to your local industries, and that's what Donald Trump is trying to bring back.
Okay, we're going to leave that topic there for the moment. Stay right there, because next on The Big Deal, we're going to break down this week's election results from Wisconsin and Florida. Stay with us.
We said we'd never break the 3-second rule. Never do that. And never become a minivan mom.
Hey, Chris.
As parents, we say never a lot, but never happens. So when you say you'd never leave your child in a hot car, know it can happen. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock.
Bring it to the party, bring it to the top, bring it to the party. Never gonna stop.
Enjoy, unwind, connect with Spectrum TV on Demand. From the latest hit movies you've been waiting to watch to your favorite comfort shows and more, all available instantly for you to stream. Create the all-around entertainment experience you've always wanted with Spectrum TV on Demand. Browse over 80,000 on-demand titles today.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. Two milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable. The sad reality is fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kitchen now.
You're not gonna get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff.
Mama!
Like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
Wisconsins stood up and said loudly that justice does not have a price. Our courts are not for sale.
President Trump asked you to vote for me, but now it's incumbent upon me over the next 2 years to show you that I am worthy of that trust.
Let it be known that this election is a reminder that the Florida Panhandle will forever be red and it'll be forever Trump country.
We're back with The Big Deal. That was reaction from the winners of this week's elections in Wisconsin and parts of Florida. In Wisconsin, the Democratic-backed candidate, Susan Crawford, won a state Supreme Court seat over Brad Schimmel, the Trump-endorsed candidate. Meanwhile, in Florida's congressional races, the Trump-endorsed candidates did prevail. In the Panhandle, Republican Jimmy Patronis won Matt Gaetz's old seat. And on the state's East Coast, Republican Randy Fine defeated Democrat Josh Weil. Spectrum News anchors Holly Gregory and Jason Fechner, who are experts on Wisconsin and Florida politics respectively, are back with me. Jason, the Wisconsin race was the most expensive Supreme Court race in U.S. history, in part because Elon Musk poured an estimated $25 million into that race, backing Schimmel. What does Susan Crawford's win signal in that case?
I think what it signals, at least here, Errol, is that Democrats are not dead and buried. Yes, demoralized, of course, after President Trump won re-election and won Wisconsin back in November. But this was a pretty significant win for the Democratic-backed candidate here. Every county across the state of Wisconsin, all 72 of them, shifted in favor of Crawford, so shifted in favor of Democratic support out there. And a lot of counties completely flipped. Some of them by double digits. They had supported Trump in November and then supported Crawford in this pivotal election that could potentially lead to new congressional maps and could kind of alter the 6-2 Republican to Democratic split in our House delegation right now. For Republicans, including Alex Zimmerman, who we had on during election night, he said Republicans here are going to have to do some soul searching about why are there so many Trump supporters out there, Trump voters who are out there, but they don't turn out if Trump isn't on the ballot for them. So they've got to do a lot of soul searching and potentially fast ahead of the midterms.
Interesting point. And now, Holly, meanwhile, in your state, Florida, Republicans kept control of 2 vacant House seats. No surprise there. These are heavily Republican strongholds. But what do you make of the fact that the Democratic candidates were able to narrow the margins considerably compared to November? Does that have national significance, do you think?
Well, there is certainly one big lesson to learn heading into the midterms. First of all, Republicans didn't think they had to put any money into these races because they're ruby red seats. They should have been completely safe. Democrats invested $20 million. They still lost by double digits. In the Central Florida district that Randy Fine won for the Republicans, his underperformance was very much a candidate-specific issue. There are a lot of Republicans in the base who do not like Randy Fine. But here's where the lesson can be learned in the Panhandle. Jimmy Patronis, who won that for the Republicans, is a very popular candidate. He's won a statewide election before. That wasn't the issue. The issue was in that Panhandle area, there are tons of federal jobs. There are Air Force bases, naval bases, all the bedroom communities with the civil federal jobs to support those bases, also parks and park rangers, people who had gotten pink slips from the Doge cuts. And they were angry, and the Democrat in that race was able to tap into that anger, even flipping a very red county to blue. So as we head into the midterms, that is something that Republicans are going to have to recognize. There is anger at these Doge cuts, and it seems to cross party lines, Errol.
Okay, that's the way to understand national politics from the ground up. Thank you both for joining me. We're going to take a short break now, and when we come back, we'll take a closer look at the reshaping of the Federal Emergency Management Agency under the Trump administration. The Big Deal is back in 2 minutes.
For the millions of school-age children across the country, the state of their schools can have a lasting impact on their health and well-being.
The majority of school districts aren't doing comprehensive regular water quality testing.
As CO2 levels rise in a space, cognitive function takes a direct decline.
We visit 2 school districts working to create safe and healthy environments for their students.
Watch Exploring Your Health, Curing Our Classrooms. Available on the Spectrum News app.
Have you seen my phone?
Yeah, it's with mine.
What's going on here, buddy?
I'm becoming a Kung Fu master.
Huh.
We have to pass this wireless speeds, right?
Yeah, we've got Spectrum.
Well, I used it to absorb hundreds of years of Kung Fu knowledge in like 20 minutes.
I don't think it works that way.
Oh, it does. Hey, what's our nunchuck situation? Don't worry, I'll go find some.
Master anything with the fastest wireless speeds. And internet customers get 1 mobile line included for 12 months with Spectrum.
I tell my son, I love you every single day. I love you. Now, my dad has never said that to me. Not because he doesn't love me, but because culturally it wasn't comfortable for him. Now that he's a grandfather, he says, I love you to my son every time he sees him. My advice to all the fathers out there, forget the cultural restrictions. They grow up way too fast for you to waste even a single precious moment.
Food isn't just fuel to live, it's fuel to grow. My family relied on public assistance to help provide meals for us. These meals fueled my involvement in theater and the arts as a child, which fostered my love for acting. The Feeding America network of food banks helps millions of people put food on the table. When people are fed, futures are nourished. Join the movement to end hunger, and together we can open endless possibilities for people to thrive. Visit feedingamerica.org/actnow.
has been a very big disappointment. They cost a tremendous amount of money. It's very bureaucratic, and it's very slow.
You're watching The Big Deal. That was President Donald Trump back in January, floating the idea of dismantling the Federal Emergency Management Agency, which has the mission of helping people before, during, and after disasters. President Trump wants to shift the agency's duties to individual states. He made that comment while touring hurricane damage in North Carolina, one of 4 states that currently have open disaster zones, along with Kentucky, which saw significant flooding in February, and California, which is still reeling from historic wildfires. Natural disasters have become bigger and more frequent all around the world and across the U.S. So what would eliminating FEMA mean for the future of disaster recovery in our country? We'll explore that in a minute, but first, take a look at how one couple in North Carolina is coping just 6 months after falling in the disastrous path of Hurricane Helene.
If the Cane River could talk, it would have many stories to tell. For nearly 25 years, Diane Merce has captured some of them from her deck overlooking the river. On the dark day when floodwaters from Helene took over this Yancey County stream.
Unless you were here to witness it, it's hard to believe.
Diane and her husband Bill had a front row seat to Helene. The couple in their 70s welcomed a family of 6 from across the river to wait out the storm.
It was raining on and off, and we spent time on the deck watching the river come up.
And then the unimaginable happened. Their neighbor's log home lifted off its foundation and floated down the river along with their pickup truck.
It was an unreal situation, and one that I hope I never have to see again.
This moment is still ingrained in Bill's memory.
The kids were crying. It was really sad. It almost made me cry. I still thinking about it. I get a little upset thinking about it because the kids, they knew everything they owned was gone.
And the unreal moments didn't stop there. They saw a shipping container and caskets come down the raging river. The couple lost power and a way to communicate with anyone. They say part of the supporting bank their house sits on washed away.
There was a landslide there.
Helene also destroyed a portion of US 19W and their driveway. This aerial photo puts the damage into perspective.
It was devastating to see this because from the top, we could not tell just how much was missing in the front of the home.
Volunteers played a vital role following the storm, bringing them food and supplies.
We could not have stayed in this house without them.
Once progress was made on this highway,
it feels good to see them working on it now.
Crews put poles and restored power 1 day shy of 4 months.
We were very happy.
The Merces, now both retired, are trying to move forward, hoping to fix the damage to their property next.
We live on Social Security and we can't possibly afford the kind of repairs that are going to be necessary.
They're still counting their blessings.
We made it out okay. I mean, we still had a house. A lot of people had no house.
Stephanie Escobar, Spectrum News.
Joining me now with more on this is Tim Boyum, a political anchor for Spectrum News 1 in Raleigh, North Carolina. And Tim, my friend, you've been down there on the ground. You've seen the agency's work in these hard-hit communities. What difference does it make when FEMA gets involved?
Yeah, so early on, it's literally the essentials. They get sort of a $750 emergency fund that helps them get things like food and water and a toothbrush and toothpaste. You know, I mean, literally essentials for these folks that their homes were literally swept away. Then they eventually get, you know, money to be able to stay in hotels for a while they figure out some more long-term housing. We've seen those FEMA trailers, right? There's temporary housing. But even long-term, they invest a lot more money in these communities as well. When I've been out there, a lot of these people live on the other side of creeks that turn into rivers, right? And they have private bridges. And some of them go to neighborhoods that cost almost $400,000 to replace that bridge. And so FEMA does pitch in, but they only pitch in so much. So for instance, one family I talked to, their whole neighborhood, they're getting about $12,500 per family, but it's going to cost another $20,000 $100,000 out of pocket per family to replace that bridge. And so that's when they rely on more money from Congress or the state or to see what FEMA can do long term. But it's all over the map, but it is essential money for these families to literally get toothbrushes and toothpaste and food at the very beginning.
So now the president's recent moves to shrink the size of government are actually having real world consequences. We saw billions of dollars in FEMA grant money frozen. The Trump administration tried to determine whether money was actually making its way to migrants. It disrupted payments to states and local governments and nonprofits. It really kind of caused a big mess, right?
Yeah, and to be truthful, the nonprofits have played a huge role out. We just had a group of mayors that were up in Washington, D.C. this week begging for money because they still have not seen a single penny from the federal government. And so they are desperate for any kind of money. And some of these nonprofits are out there helping them rebuild some of these bridges or help them, putting up drywall in homes and doing all that help. And so when that happens, it's a huge problem. But also for these folks trying to get through FEMA, it's very difficult to get through the bureaucracy. And by the way, I ask people about what the bureaucracy is, and nobody can really kind of lay out what it is at this point, including people that are in government, but they know the money's not coming. And so it is a big issue because if there's fewer people working on these cases, or if the money's not going to nonprofits who are really actually getting work done in the long run, they're stuck. That's really how they feel.
Well, so now I know down in your state, but also throughout the Midwest, there's been a lot of flooding, and another important function of FEMA is to run the National Flood Insurance Program, which insures millions of American homes that can't get coverage in these flood-prone areas. It's a major program because without the insurance, the banks won't issue mortgages to potential home buyers. Everything just becomes a lot harder. So if FEMA should go away or shrink significantly, what happens to this vital program?
Yeah, that's a huge questions out there. Nobody really knows the answer to that. I think some believe that it could go to another agency in the federal government and then it could tackle it. But would those people follow there that have that expertise? Would it come out the same way? It's a major concern. Obviously out in western North Carolina where they didn't think they were going to have 1,000-year floods happen. What we've seen not only with Hurricane Helene, but Tropical Storm Fred a few years ago, getting that insurance. And so it could have a huge impact even on the real estate industry, as you mentioned, with the mortgages, those not being able to happen or transfer without that insurance program. So that is going to be something to watch really closely.
And I get, in our last minute, I mean, when the president talks about let's shift it to the states, I mean, and you cover state government, could the state of North Carolina, even with, I guess extra money from Washington, have handled the response to the recent flooding?
Well, that depends on who you ask. If you ask, I've asked Republican state lawmakers in North Carolina, and they say, sure, I think we could handle it. The question is, the money's still not flowing through FEMA right now. Would it flow immediately to the states? That's a big question about whether that would happen or not, and how the state could handle it with its expertise. I recently talked with our new governor, Josh Stein, who was also a state senator in the past, in Asheville about this issue. He says he's talking to the Louisiana governor about trying to reform FEMA. They do believe there's too much red tape to get through, but there's no way that the states could handle this. And how do you handle it when you have a state like North Carolina that has natural disasters, frankly, every few years, and some other states that don't have any? And so how do you handle all that? And also the expertise that is in FEMA. Would you have to hire people in North Carolina? There's a lot of questions about that. But right now, Republicans say, yeah, I think we could. And there's some real hesitancy among Democrats and others that have been doing this for a long time.
Okay, thanks very much, Tim Boyum. Thank you for joining us for this episode of The Big Deal. We'll see you next week. Stay tuned to your local Spectrum station.
Friday nights, The Big Deal with Errol Lewis, where Spectrum News' local political journalists break down the most important issues shaping our nation.
Our journey towards improving mental health doesn't always present a clear path. Every Thursday on Your Mental Health, we listen to voices across our communities, discussing the challenges of everyday life and presenting accessible resources to guide us along the path to our well-being, providing hope and empowering choices that light the way to a healthier you.
Your Mental Health, with Dr. Nicole Clark, Thursdays on Spectrum News Plus, available on all your favorite devices.
It's game time at the arena, and 20,000 fans are looking for a win. With an ultra-high-speed network and seamless Wi-Fi, fans can get in the door fast and share the game's best moments in real time. And with Spectrum Business committed to keeping them connected 100% of the time, they won't miss a second of the action. A secure, reliable connection from Spectrum Business means the fan experience is a guaranteed win.
Whether it's our stories, the warmth of our laugh, or our family's secret sauce, we all bring something different to the table. So make some space. The power of connection is waiting right outside your comfort zone. Learn how you can help strengthen your community at belongingbeginswithus.org/teamup.
Weather can be beautiful, inconvenient, and at times powerful. And it affects everything we do. At Spectrum News Plus, our weather experts update you with the information and the context you need so you can better plan your day. And we do it every 10 minutes. We're the calm in the storm. Weather on the Ones on Spectrum News Plus, exclusively on Spectrum. And get your weather anytime on the Spectrum News app. Spectrum News Plus. Local stories, connecting communities. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app and free with your Spectrum subscription.